I try not to talk a whole bunch, and I just want to kind of give you the floor and let you tell your
Okay.
story. And usually I do mute it just in case somebody screams in the background because I have 5, and so you never know if somebody's like, "Mom!" I'm like, okay. So, yeah. So with that, just you can introduce yourself and just tell us whatever you want us to know about your journey.
Okay. Well, obviously my journey's a little bit different than others. It was very unexpected. We were going through a lot of health issues to begin with, and it was a lot. It's a lot to process, and looking back on it now, just not knowing I was pregnant, like looking through all the things that happened during my pregnancy, and like we've kind of been able to put together like a timeline from from that, just looking back. And sometimes we just sit back and we're like, how did we not know? Like, there was just so much going on. I had been diagnosed with a colon disease, a twisted colon, back in 2021. So I had been struggling with that for about a year. They had me on a high fiber diet. I couldn't process any food. My body just wouldn't digest anything because it was so twisted. It couldn't digest anything. So I kept going back to the doctor, and like they really weren't doing anything for me. It was kind of just like you have to let it come undone on its own. So they were having me do high fiber, and the symptoms kind of included nausea, vomiting, abdominal pain, bloating, cramps, so normal pregnancy symptoms. But during that time, I had taken a lot of pregnancy tests just because, those were the right symptoms. So I'd kind of given up on my health in about December of 2021. And right in January is when we think I would have gotten pregnant. So I'd kind of given up, and I kind of just quit trying to get better, and I kind of just suffered through it. It kind of seemed like it got better for a few weeks, and then it started getting like much, much worse. So they think the kind of pregnancy that I had was an ectopic pregnancy. It's really hard to tell because by the time I got to the hospital, he was already born, and I'd already passed everything. But they think the placenta was in the front, and he was kind of pushed up against my back because I didn't gain a lot of weight, and he didn't have enough room to kind of move. We think that he was probably pinching my colon, giving it the illusion that my colon was still twisted. So I was still having problems like digesting food and all the same symptoms. And I kept calling my doctor, and I'm like, I just think there's something else going on. Like, I really think I might be pregnant or something else. And he kept saying, no, we've already been over this. We've done tons of pregnancy tests. Every visit you've come in, we've done one. They've all come back negative. Like, you can take one at home but if it comes back negative, like, I don't think we need to go any further than that. So by this point, it was like too late in the pregnancy for it to really show up on a P test. So I keep taking these P tests, and they're all coming back negative, and I'm just like, I just don't know what else to do. Well, about 2 weeks before my son was born, I just lost it. I am down on my knees, and I am just praying, and I'm like, God, please, I cannot take this pain anymore. I need you to work a miracle. I need you to heal my body, and I need to be better. I just can't physically take it anymore. And then 2 weeks later, my son was born, and I have not had any pain since. All my symptoms are gone. My colon is in the shape it's supposed to be in, and
Praise the Lord. Look at that.
And at the time, going through the colon disease and not being able to eat, or some days I couldn't even get out of bed just being in so much pain, I realized that God was preparing me physically for giving birth on my own. While I wish I didn't have to go through all of that, to have my son, I can really see how his hand worked in all of it. Just all the stuff we were going through during that time. If I would have known I was pregnant, me being an overthinker and a stressor and a worrier, I think it would have been much harder pregnancy. So just not knowing and just going through life as normal, I guess, was really what I needed. So, day of birth, it's about 3 a.m. and I'm, just not feeling good. I can't sleep. I'm tossing and I'm turning, and I get up.
And at this point, you didn't know that you were pregnant, right?
Right.
So day of birth, you didn't know was the day of
Right.
birth.
And I mean, I'm just cramping and in pain and I'm bleeding, so I'm just assuming I'd had my period every month.
Right.
I was taking birth control, so they think it was probably like the birth control, like simulating a period or like forcing one on. So I'd had one every month, and I just thought I was on my period, and I'm like, man, these cramps, they're just killing me. And I got up and I went to work, and I worked the whole day. My husband came and picked me up. We ate lunch at Zaxby's, and he was like, are you sure you don't want to go home? Like, you just look like you're in a lot of pain. And I was like, no, I'm going to be on my period all week, and I can't just call out every time I get a cramp, so I'll go back to work. So I worked the whole day
Wow.
in labor, just having these awful cramps, which I know now are contractions. But I was able to, keep working with customers and put on a happy face the rest of the day. And by the time I got home, I was so tired. I laid down and I took a nap. About an hour later, I woke up from that nap, and I went to the bathroom, and I'm just half asleep. I didn't even really realize I was in that much pain. And I sat down to use the bathroom, and as soon as I sat down, I could feel his head moving right into position. And so I looked
Wow.
down, and he's already coming out on his own. I have no time to call 911. There's no time to do anything. So I pushed one time, and I pulled him right out, and then I'm just standing there in my bathroom holding this slimy, bloody, screaming. I mean, he was tiny. He was only 5 pounds, very tiny. And I'm just like, well, what do I do now? So I call my...
I didn't know I was going to have a baby 10 minutes ago. So.
Right. And I'm not even processing any of this at this point. When I first looked down, it was a very gory scene, and I had assumed that I was having a miscarriage. And when he came out crying, I was like, oh my gosh, you are alive and you're a baby. And so the first thing I do is call my husband, and he is actually out at work. So he drives home. He's just a few minutes down the road. He drives home, and he doesn't know what's going on. He couldn't hear anything. He was on a lawnmower mowing some grass, and so he just doesn't know what's going on, but he knows there's something wrong. So he flies home. He walks in the bathroom, and he just stands there, and he's looking at me, and I'm looking at him. And he said, what are you doing? And I said, well, I had a baby. And he said, I can see that. Do you want to sit down? And I was like, no, not really. And he just walks off. And I was like, oh no, I've scared him off. He is leaving me. I am going to be a single mother. Well, he comes back a few minutes later, and he's got scissors and a chip bag clip, and he's clamping the cord and cutting it, and just
Look at him.
And he, if you knew him, he is not that type of person. He's not good in like times of trouble. Like, he's usually the panicker. Mm-hmm. But he was just so calm, and he just knew what he was doing. And I was freaked out at how calm he was, because I'm like, shouldn't we be panicking? Like, I don't.
That is the Lord right there, being calm in the moments where we never understand how we can be calm in those
Yes,
moments.
absolutely. And he had never, he had held a baby maybe once or twice in his life, but he didn't know anything about babies. How he knew what he was doing, neither one of us know. He just started going. So after he cut the cord, we just kind of left everything as it was. The placenta was in the toilet. There's blood everywhere. I've got handprints on the wall where I was kind of bracing myself. We just walk out and get in the car, drive to the hospital. And on the way, we're like, I guess we should tell people. Like, how do we don't even know. So we're like, okay, let's call my mom. So we called my mom, and we're on FaceTime, and she just doesn't believe us. She is like, we told her she was a grandma,
Wow.
and she's like, no, don't play with me. What is that? You got a dog? Is that a puppy? What is that? I'm like, no, Mom, it's a baby. And I kind of like hold them up, and I'm showing her. She's like, whose baby is that? I'm like, it's my baby. And she's like, where did you get it from? I was like,
Oh my gosh.
like I gave birth to him. Like, he's mine. And she starts freaking out. She's like, where are my shoes? I need my shoes. And she did that for a few minutes. And then we were like, okay, well, we got to go. We'll meet you at the hospital. But we called his mom next. And so this time we were like, okay, we need to sit down. Like, be calm. So we told her, and she was like, she was thinking that we were giving a birth announcement. And she's like, okay, well, I mean, there's not a better way to do it than calling me. And we're like, well, we didn't really have a choice. Like, he's here. And she's like, right now? And we're like, yeah. And she's like, is he okay? Are you okay? What do we do? And we're like, I don't know. Meet us at the hospital. So, of course, we get to the hospital, and we went straight into labor and delivery. He had called ahead to let him know that we were coming. So we get there, and they're like, where's the rest of it? And we're like, what do you mean? They're like, did you pass the placenta? And we're like, yeah, it's at home in the toilet. Were we supposed to bring it?
Oh, no.
They were like, no, I guess it's fine. We were just confused. And we're like, yeah, we used the chip bag clip. And they were just like astonished at his craftsmanship there. But the first nurse that we kind of dealt with was very hostile. She did not believe us. She did not like our story. And she was like, well, when was your last period? And I was like, well, I mean, I've had one every month. You know, I've been bleeding for the past couple days. So, you know, I'm not. And she was just like so mean. She was like, well, you can't have your period if you're pregnant. So when was really the last time? And I was like, I really don't know. Like, I couldn't tell you. And she's like, ask me all these questions I don't know the answers to. And we had left from there shortly after. He had went into the NICU to warm up. I mean, he was really cold because, of course, I was burning up. So in the car ride on the way there, we were, like, blasting the air, and I'm like, I'm sweating, like I'm wore out, like. So we had the air blasting, but he was cold, so they had taken him to the NICU to warm up. So once he got out of the NICU, maybe an hour or two later, we went down to, like, the postpartum area, I guess. And the nurses there were much friendlier, but we just had the craziest time. I mean, nurses from all over the hospital were coming to visit, like, can you just tell us this story? And
you're a superstar. We got to hear about it, you know?
Yeah. So we had only told, like, our immediate family, and by the time we got out of the hospital, I mean, my whole family had gathered together. We had a car seat, we had a crib, we had all the clothes, diapers to last. I mean, we still have diapers from his baby shower. Like, they just, I mean, we had everything we needed. We were so mind blown. I mean, we had people that we didn't even really know, like, giving us stuff, like, hey, you know, I'm your mom's friend from high school. I heard your story. Here's some stuff.
I know that I haven't even met you, but when we were reached out to, they were like, "You need to pray." We don't know details, just pray. And so we were all praying, and we were like, "Lord, this is a story to tell." We were praying for you, and I'm so glad that God really showed up and showed out.
Yes, for sure. And I could not have asked for a better birth story. If I probably would have had a choice, it probably would have been a much different birth plan than what I had planned. But God really had all the details worked out, and it came perfectly. So
I'm so happy because you are the first one I've ever had that didn't know they were pregnant until birthday. Out of all the ones I've done, but I think that really it shows us that even in life, we realize that God's the one who's in control. We need to lean on Him for understanding and for everything that we feel like we need to, we need to have opinions about, or we need to take control of the situation. And really, look at that. He showed up and He's like, "Look, I'm the ultimate one," and He really blessed you guys, and you were wanting a baby, and then you just got one. It's just amazing. I love your story so much.
yes, absolutely. After he was born, I was so afraid that I was going to get pregnant again and not know about it and just pop out another baby. Like, that was my biggest fear for the longest, especially around, like, the time that he was 9 or 10 months old. I was like, oh, man, I'm not ready for another baby. Lord, this time, could you please prepare me a little more? Like, just let me know. Looking for signs. And, of course, I take pregnancy tests very, very regularly now. That's just one of the fears that I have now, which I know if it happens again, He took care of me before, and He can do it again. This time I'll be a little bit more prepared, but yeah, I definitely had like some nightmares and some like fear of using the bathroom after that. Like, sometimes I would just like, I'm not going to say like panic or freak out, but like my heart would start racing, and as I'm using the bathroom, and I'm like, everything's fine, it's not going to happen again.
That's understandable. Yeah, that's for sure. I think that that's only natural that anybody would feel that way, at that point.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it was a hard time
Well,
for
that's
sure,
that's
but we made it through.
it. And how old is he
So he'll
now?
be 2 in August. Yes, so
Yay!
he's at a very fun age right now. I know a lot of people don't like the 2-3 age, but I'm enjoying it a lot. I mean, he's a lot of fun.
I love that for you. I have a 3-year-old, and I know that people say, "Oh, you got your hands full." Really, they're so much fun. They're learning so much, and that you still get the hugs and you still get all the good stuff. And that's awesome. Thank you for taking the time today to come on and share what your story was to all of us so that we can hear it and we can be like, "Wow, she's awesome." She's just, you're just an inspiration for me. That was amazing. Thank you so
Well, no,
much.
thank you for having me. I really enjoyed talking with you.